Today, something special for SacTV.com. I'm visiting Mike Lidskin.
Hey Alex, how you doing, man?
Pretty good. You're on 88.7 The Voice.
Yes.
Doing your show called Twirl Radio.
That's right. TwirlRadio.com is where we listen to it on the internet every Saturday, 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific time.
So this is public radio, and in a way it's kind of like freeform radio.
Yeah, they give me 2 hours. Do what you will with it. The only requirement here at Access is you take the training classes so you learn how to use this wonderful equipment here, and then you go, you get your 2 hours. It's like the Second Amendment. No, take it back. It's the First Amendment. You're not allowed to use your Second Amendment
It
rights
allows
in
you
here.
to shoot your mouth off.
Exactly. But it's a great example of the First Amendment, free speech, soapbox here. Mm-hmm. I choose to use my rights to play really cool music that you don't get to hear in most other places.
And that's a good idea, because there aren't that many stations across the USA that do that anymore. I mean, a lot of it has become kind of cookie-cutter corporate formula programming, but what you're doing is nothing like that. Well, you still plan out your show, right?
Yes, I do. I have a little playlist here, and that's about as good as it gets. So here's my cookie-cutter programming right here.
But now, when you make your music selection, what are you thinking about?
I'm thinking about a couple things. Number one, and first and foremost, what sounds good. And it doesn't matter what genre we're talking about. I've mixed country and rock and soul and alternative and Americana in the same 15-minute set, and it just has to sound good. I mean, if you hear Can't Touch This by MC Hammer and then maybe some Americana indie artists from the Bay Area and they're in the same set, if they sound good together, they get played. I mean, I have no preconceived notions.
We had a similar philosophy at Quad back in the 90s of just play what sounds good. We did format it in a way where we weren't playing stuff that sounded like what was on the top 40. For example, we didn't really play MC Hammer because that kind of sounded like a lot of top 40.
Yeah.
In fact, it's sampled from a top 40 hit.
True.
But we did whatever seemed alternative. So
yes.
we kind of went with that blanket term alternative, which could have meant anything at that time. Anything that wasn't on the charts, and eventually it took over the charts.
Yeah. And that's exactly right. And that's my favorite era of commercial music, the early to mid-90s alternative. I love what happened there. Just so much creativity. I felt like when I was listening to radio in those days, I felt like that's what people in the 60s must have felt like when they were listening to radio. Just
freeform.
Sound. Yeah. Freeform.
Anything goes. Just whatever blends well
Exactly.
together.
One other programming secret I do, though, if I happen to listen to something on commercial radio that I really like for example, this is a guilty pleasure, although it shouldn't be guilty. If you like it, right? Ricky Martin's Livin' La Vida Loca. I've always loved that song.
Big dance hit.
I heard it back in 1999, and I thought, this is too big and too commercialized, and everybody's hearing it on the airwaves for me to play it on my show right now. I'm going to let it sit for a few years, and when everybody's forgotten about it, I'll bring it back here. And so I will occasionally work a song like that in there. So that's my nod to commercial music.
Well, to me, that's a big party anthem that works.
Yes.
And so I've got nothing against music that works.
Yeah, exactly.
But, top 40 is kind of really not about just 40 songs that work. It's about 3 or 5 songs that work, and then the rest is padded with sound-alike music. And there's this hope that everyone's going to not notice that 35 songs are filler songs.
Yeah.
But I'm exaggerating a little bit. It's just that the music industry kind of went down in sales over time, and it kind of proved that just because something gets played on the radio doesn't mean it's going to be a big hit.
No, that's true, and I don't even know what current hits sound like anymore, to tell you the truth. I just listen for what sounds good.
Means you're not being brainwashed.
No, and it shows how far we've come. Either I'm old or I'm noticing things, but one of the local oldie stations here plays old Casey Kasem shows. American Top 40. Every Sunday morning they'll play one from the early 70s, like this was the Top 40 October 1972. And it sounds great, and there's amazing musical diversity there. And I'm thinking, why can't radio sound like that today? That was good radio, and that was what people were buying. And I heard 40 songs, and I'd say, I liked a good 35 of them. It was great.
Well, I think what changed that basically explains what you're pointing at, the mystery of how come it used to be very diverse, and now it's kind of like a lot of formula stuff. I think it's because at that time in the 70s you had 6 major labels.
Yeah.
Now you got 3. and there's a lot of pressure to only put out what's going to sell quickly. And that tends to be kind of like that synthetic dance sound that uses auto-tune.
Yeah.
Just teens love to buy that quickly, but then it burns out quickly and it doesn't create this heritage of hits like the 60s and 70s did. You know, a lot of those songs stuck around because they were just timeless artistic songs, whereas music of the past 10 years commercially has been a lot of cookie cutter stuff. They kind of just falls to the wayside after it falls off the charts, and then people forget about it.
That's exactly right. I couldn't tell you what was popular in 2000. I know what the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s sounded like. Could not even tell you what the 2000s sounded like. And that's a problem too, because some of this old great music, which we love, it's on classic rock stations or the oldie stations, and I love classic rock. But I listened to it for a while, and I'm thinking that's the stuff I listened to when I was growing up. I wish there was a station that played music this good that was current to give new artists a chance. There's just nothing like it.
Well, here you are.
I'm trying.
The voice, Twirl Radio.
Yes, and I'm going to honor a lot of those artists in 2 weeks. I'm not sure when this airs, but it'll be on the Saturday of Super Bowl weekend, the Twirly Awards. I do this every year now.
I remember that last year. Yeah.
That's right. We met last year at this time. I think we were trying to pay attention to the 49ers in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Well, so you've wisely picked a weekend where they're not playing on a Saturday.
Right. They're playing tomorrow night. They're playing against the Atlanta Falcons.
Yes, so
and if they win, they're in the Super Bowl.
Good luck to both teams. Better luck to the 49ers.
I hope so. Well, thank you very much, Mike. Great talking with you.
Great talking with you, too.